And a lot of people got mad at me and said, oh, what do you mean? Like, no, I think it's because Trump realizes how unpopular this shit is. He does not like this level of bad press, because while there are people out there who are like, yeah, you know, everybody that's a race traitor to the whites, or let's get to the real news. Notice how they're pulling out shit from 5-15 years ago, but all you have to do is look back a few months. Wait, what? There is nothing that they can pull out anyway. Also, it's like, I'm an agent of the Chinese Communist Party, but I'm also simultaneously a Department of Homeland Security agent. Which is it? Do I work for the Department of Homeland Security, or am I an agent of the Chinese Communist Party? What the f is going on? They say, like, I'm spying for everybody. Okay, I'm a double agent. Okay, I'm a quadruple agent. I'm big homie badass over here, dude. I'm Jason Bourne. The Nazi I platformed acted in bad faith is a wild statement. Yeah, I'm also a too. Yeah, I'm such an agent of China that I'm simultaneously an agent of the CCP, but also I got detained and criminally prosecuted in China. I was in Chinese jail. That's the other thing. It's like, not only am I an agent of China, but I also am an agent of Hamas. And despite being an agent of China, I got detained in China and I was arrested and prosecuted in China. That's what they say too. It's all made up. Wake up. If you believe any of this shit, you're a moron, dude. God damn, it doesn't even make sense. None of it makes sense. Anyway, Trump is going to send Border Czar Tom Homan in Minnesota.
Announced Monday morning that he is going to be dispatching his Border Czar Tom Homan to the state. Trump wrote, quote, I am sending Tom Homan to Minnesota tonight. He has not been involved in that area.
He's going to eat everybody. I'm going to Minnesota. I'm there. I'm going to see if there's any immigrants there. I'm Tom Homan.
But knows
you got arrested in China? No, dumbass, I didn't. They lied and said I got arrested in China. And now they're lying and saying I'm an agent of CCP. And it's ironic because we spent a ton of money for that Chinese trip, like out of pocket. I wish the Chinese government paid us to do that shit, dude. Are you kidding me? I wish.
Likes many of the people there. Tom is tough but fair and will report directly to me. This is a notable development, particularly because Homan, as the president pointed out, has not been the one on the ground leading the—
Where's Hammer and Sickle Hat? I not CCP? No, I am ideologically favorable towards any anti-capitalist initiative, okay? Make no mistake. This is not a secret. I say it all the time. Do you understand? Although I do have criticisms of the Chinese government with regular frequency, I think we can learn some lessons from the central planned economy that China has, okay? One that actually focuses on improving the material conditions of the working class rather than improving the bottom line of billionaires. That's my point. It's not a secret. None of this is a secret. And it's not exactly a favorable position to hold in the United States of America, at least for now. It's becoming more of a favorable position, okay? It's becoming more and more of a favorable position every single day, especially with the American government's shit. The more the American government does awful, heinous crimes against humanity, crimes against its own citizens, the more people go, maybe China ain't so bad. But none of the positions that I've held for the last 10 plus years were positions that were super favorable, okay? There was no, like, socialist movement in this goddamn country in 2016, pre-Bernie especially. There was nothing, okay? It was dead. It was nothing. Now there is one. And a lot of people worked tirelessly, brick by brick, to build something here. That's why it's so funny when all these dumps will turn around and be like, oh, he's just saying it because it's popular. Bitch, when was it popular? America's the most pro-capitalist country on the planet. The heart of empire. When has anti-imperialism been popular in America?
These ICE operations, and this is really kind of a departure from the faces of what has been going on in Minnesota. One, Gregory Bovino, he is the border commander at large, but also the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. They have been the ones that have been really out there publicly defending the ICE officers in the wake of the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy on Saturday, but also the fatal of Renee Good earlier this month. And this could potentially also signal a change in strategy. One, we should note that Homan is not as hardline on ICE operations as Nome and Bovino have been. We also, CNN has reported that Homan and Nome have clashed and have been at odds many times over the last year regarding.
Yeah, they're claiming that there is like internal instability between the DHS and ICE. Okay. This is the new meta. Like, it's just, I'm not so certain. I think I think it's, yes, kayfabe is right. I think it's kayfabe. I think it's like kind of phony because ultimately whatever Trump says goes, right? And if there's any sort of inconsistency here, any sort of like friction here, that's most likely born out of the fact that Trump is too busy, I don't know, trying to conquer Greenland or something. And he's just delegated all matter of border patrol and ICE activity to Stephen Miller. And there are people that have differences in opinion on how these operations should be conducted. But it's very obvious that like Operation, what was it? Like Metro Hammer or whatever. I forget what the goddamn operation is called in Minneapolis, but like that operation was very clearly designed. Metro Siege, right? Is that what it is? Metro Surge. Yeah, so Operation Metro Surge was established in December 2025, and it's been going on for the last month, for the last like almost 30 days now, and it was very clearly designed to dominate and to punish the people in the Twin Cities, right? Like that's what it's for. It's very open. Like they're doing a constant presence. They're doing force projection on American citizens, and they're harassing people. And I think that's frustrating to some people within the DHS infrastructure that actually just want to purge the American boundaries of every black and brown person. Like there are the real white nativists inside of the country, and then there are the ones who are just like, no, we should dominate blue cities. And they're kind of at odds with one another, I think. No one genuinely thinks that they're like deporting criminals, obviously. They all know better. They know how this stuff works. But as a Minneapolis resident, you are wrong. We remember Mr. Homan's valiant service under Obama. We will gladly accept him with open arms. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Remember when Obama gave Tom Homan a medal? And then liberals get so mad at me. Like, do you care about the excesses? Is that all you care about? Or do you actually care principally about the concept of like purging the boundaries of migrants instead of like documenting them? But yeah, as I said yesterday, and this is from DC Examiner, so they're probably leaking it. All Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis are being sent home, per sources. DHS, CBP have not responded to email. This comes after federal sources told me over the weekend that agents were told their deployment would extend into February. Major change in less than 24 hours. Yeah, I think that direct action gets the goods. I do feel like the big show of force, and then also the Alex Peretti murder and the response to Alex Peretti's murder is causing these guys to back away. But we shall see. We shall see how this goes. That's what I was trying to signal yesterday, and a lot of people got mad at me and said, "Oh, what do you mean?" Like, no, I think it's because Trump realizes how unpopular this shit is. He does not like this level of bad press, because while there are people out there who are like, yeah, everybody that's a race traitor to the whites or whatever. Six Buzz is reporting on you this afternoon regarding UBC talk on February 12th. Yeah. I'm going to be doing a talk at UBC in Canada, and the Canadian APAC is trying to stop me from entering the Canadian country, the nation's boundaries, by saying I'm a scary guy. Yeah.
How to handle the president's immigration crackdown.
President Trump has posted moments ago, Governor Tim Walz called me with the request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call, and we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. I told Governor Walz that I would have Tom Homan call him, and that what we are looking for are any and all criminals that they have in their possession. The governor very respectfully understood that. That is a critically important development.
President Trump says Minnesota Governor Tim Walz called him asking to work together to find a solution to ICE operations and the chaos in Minnesota. Senior White House correspondent Selena Wang is here for more on that. So, Selena, what do we know about this conversation?
Yeah, Diane, well, it looks like President Trump may be looking for an off-ramp here. I mean, what he's saying in this social media post is a big shift in tone that we've seen coming from the president and his administration over the last few days. President Trump saying that Governor Walz, quote, called me with a request to work together with respect to Minnesota. He called it a very good call. And he said, quote, actually, we seem to be on a similar wavelength. He also said that Governor Walz is happy that his border czar, Tom Homan, will be coming to Minnesota. Now, remember that throughout the weekend, President Trump and his team have been making a series of unsubstantiated claims, blaming local officials, including Governor Walz, for the deadly shooting, and also claiming without evidence that Alex Preddy, the ICU nurse who was shot and killed, was a domestic trying to inflict maximum damage. But we know, Diane, that the president, as well as his chief of staff, they've been fielding a lot of calls about what happened in Minnesota, including with local officials. And the president gave a significant interview with the Wall Street Journal yesterday where he appeared to be looking for a climb down. He signaled a willingness to eventually withdraw immigration enforcement from the Minnesota area. He said, quote, at some point we will leave.
Meanwhile, the White House is signaling confidence in Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem amid growing calls for her to resign. What are you watching for there, Selena?
I mean, look, it is significant that they're choosing to send border czar Tom Homan to Minnesota because the immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota that has been under scrutiny, that has really been mostly the responsibility of Kristi Noem, who runs the Department of Homeland Security. So that is significant there. So we'll be watching for any potential tension between these two leaders. But look, the president also knows that there are a growing number of
I said I was going to pee. This guy said, again? Didn't you pee yesterday? You're right. I pee once a day. I apologize for peeing more than once today.
Republicans who have been disturbed by the administration's jump to conclusions. There's also a growing number of Republicans who are also calling for an independent investigation. Governor Walz made it very clear that the federal government cannot be trusted to handle it. Walz saying the state will do it.
All right, senior White House correspondent Selena Wang, thank you.
Nobody in the White House, including President Trump, wants to see people get in America's streets. This includes Renee Good, Alex Preddy, the brave men and women of federal...
Why? You guys said that they were terrorists. Wouldn't you want terrorists to be killed? I'm so confused. This kind of feels inconsistent. Are they terrorists that deserved what they got? Or is it an unfortunate incident? Because this seems like it's a major backpedal. Hold on now. I've been watching Asman go for the past couple of weeks, and he's been saying, fuck around and find out. Now the government is saying it's an unfortunate incident. I thought it was FAFO time. What happened? What happened? I thought it was FAFO. The left has been arguing for years, literal decades, that the designation terrorist was bound to be expanded to refer to anyone someone in power disagree with. It is a term without referent or definition. Really, libs should listen sometimes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we've been saying that. I've been getting called a terrorist nonstop anyway. Terrorism just means guy I don't like that I think I can deny due process to. That's all that fucking means.
Law enforcement and the many Americans who have been victimized at the hands of illegal alien criminals. Saturday's shooting remains under active investigation by Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI. The Customs and Border Protection is also conducting their own internal review. As President Trump said yesterday, the administration is reviewing everything with respect to the shooting, and we will let that investigation play out. But let's be clear about the circumstances which led to that moment on Saturday. This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Fry and other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our streets: murderers, rapists, pedophiles, human traffickers, and gang members. Governor Walz and Mayor Fry have shamefully blocked local and state police from cooperating with ICE, actively inhibiting efforts to arrest violent criminals. They have also used their platforms to encourage left-wing agitators to stalk, record, confront, and obstruct federal officers who are just trying to lawfully perform their duties, which has created dangerous situations threatening both these officers and the general public and Minnesotans alike. This is precisely what unfolded in Minneapolis on Saturday morning. Obstructing federal law enforcement and inciting violence against officers is wrong and illegal. This used to be a universally accepted position in the United States. Amid the hysteria, we must remember how we got here to this moment today and what this Democrat opposition is about. Former President Joe Biden and the Democrats opened America's borders for 4 years, inviting tens of millions of illegal aliens from all over the world to flood into our country. Among them, violent criminals who terrorized American communities and have inflicted devastating, permanent pain and harm on law-abiding Americans and their families. Yet we never saw outrage from Democrats or their allies in the liberal media over these horrifying crimes against U.S. citizens. The pain of American angel families was ignored and dismissed.
An undocumented immigrant did a murder inside of the U.S. boundaries, which means we now have to prosecute, apprehend, detain, and possibly denaturalize every Somali American. Does this argument make sense at all? No. If it does, you might be a MAGA Republican, okay? Angel families is what they're saying is like families who have family members who have died to died at the hands of an undocumented immigrant. That's what they're saying. Okay, that's Laken Riley. That's why they called the Laken Riley Act because Laken Riley was a nursing student, I believe, who was killed by an undocumented immigrant, and they used that example to propagandize against every undocumented migrant on U.S. soil, despite the fact that undocumented immigrants are responsible for a much lower percentage of crimes per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens are. And it's crazy because in the process of like supposedly going after undocumented migrants because they're all criminals that are doing, violent crimes and stuff, they're killing Americans. They're killing American citizens. It's fucking ridiculous. More people died in ICE custody in 2025 than undocumented migrants killed in 2024. Yes. The number of violent crimes that undocumented migrants engage in on US soil is so fucking marginal that it is insane that anybody ever brings it up. Like it is like a statistical anomaly. And if you ask Donald Trump, he says hundreds of thousands of people are being killed by undocumented migrants every year. The real number is like 25, okay? That's how insane it is. That is how insane it is. And that includes documented and undocumented migrants. And that includes like vehicular manslaughter and shit. Okay? No, 25, not 2,500, not 25,000, 25. 25. If you ask the Trump administration, the fucking Trump administration, they keep saying it's 100,000 a year. Yeah, sorry, it's 28. Only 28 murder convictions on non-citizens, documented and undocumented in 2025. It's fucking ridiculous.
Because it undermined the Democrat narrative. Innocent Americans like Jocelyn Nungray, Laken Riley, and Rachel Morin are just a few.
Can I have a source of my chud friend? Yes, it's called the Department of Homeland Security's own website. At least for the time being, they still have accurate data on it. But yeah, that's where it comes from. No, this is customs-and-border-patrol.gov.
Of the many
website
victims
you designed? Yeah, I designed the entire Department of Homeland Security's website.
Savagely murdered by illegal aliens.
I didn't just design it. I'm the software engineer.
And criminals. Earlier this month, an illegal alien from Mexico with a long criminal history who came into our country under Joe Biden's administration threw a baseball-sized stone at a school bus carrying children in New Jersey and fractured the skull of an 8-year-old innocent child. President Trump promised accountability to these American families by securing the border, deporting every illegal alien who has committed crimes, especially and most importantly, violent crimes. Nearly 80 million Americans voted for him to deliver on that very promise, and he is. As the duly elected president, the president is fulfilling the will of the people by arresting and removing these threats from our country in cities from Los Angeles to New York, and yes, Minneapolis. Yet
I need you to remember something. 90% of all of the immigrants that are apprehended have no criminal record whatsoever, or I believe it's like 92% now. And the 8% of undocumented immigrants that are apprehended by ICE that have a criminal record are either for minor issues after they've served their sentence and they weren't slated for deportation because it was just nothing, or they're literally carrying out their sentence in prison right now, and the Trump administration is going after them to pad the stats. They're going after undocumented migrants that already are in prison and accelerating their deportation process before they carry out their prison sentence completely. They're taking them out of prisons to deport them just so they can say, see, we're deporting the fucking evil criminals that the Biden administration did not prosecute. They make it seem like they're grabbing them off the streets. That's not the case. They're getting them from the prison, okay? They are getting them from the fucking prisons in order to pad the fucking stats. But because they can't pad the stats, because undocumented migrants don't do that many crimes in general, as opposed to regular natural born U.S. citizens, that they don't even have enough. So it's 92% no criminal record and 8% with criminal record, but they're already in prison. All of it is a fucking lie.
Democrat leaders in Minnesota with sanctuary city policies have actively defied federal immigration law and the will
like this guy.
of the people. And as a result of that defiance, 2 Minnesotans have now tragically lost their lives on the streets of Tim Walz's state. It is President Trump's hope and wish.
We sent ICE just to punish a blue city that was doing great. But it's still the fucking fault of the blue city because it was existing. It was existing. We sent our Gestapo agents to dominate people, to lay siege on a blue American city where, the Gestapo agents actually ended up killing 2 American citizens, but that's still the fault of the city itself. Get the fuck out of here, man. Good luck getting your injections in prison. Oh my God, I wish for the day that I see all of these fucking assholes behind bars. Oh my God.
And demand for the resistance and chaos to
Is it me or is KKK Caroline getting fatter? Isn't she pregnant, Chad?
end today. That's why President Trump spoke with Governor Walz directly this morning. And he has
I don't care. She's a fascist. I don't care about her weight fluctuations, okay?
outlined a clear
Don't be
and simple
ridiculous.
path to restoring law and order in Minnesota. Number one,
Yeah, she's
Governor
Purgante.
Walz, Mayor Fry, and all Democrat leaders should turn over all criminal illegal aliens currently incarcerated in their prisons and jails to federal authorities, along with any illegal aliens with active warrants or known criminal histories for immediate deportation. Number two, state and local law enforcement must agree to turn over all illegal aliens who are arrested by local police. And then thirdly, local police must assist federal law enforcement in apprehending and detaining illegal aliens who are wanted for crimes, especially violent crimes. If Governor Walz and Mayor Fry implement these common sense cooperative measures that I will add have already been implemented in nearly...
Bro, this is literally always, this is the Trump method through and through, okay? Get in there, fuck shit up, everybody hates you. Then you basically go back to the people and you say, hey, give me something that makes me look good and we'll pull out. It's the same with China, with the Chinese trade, with the China terrorism that Donald Trump engaged in. It's the same here in fucking Minnesota. Goes in, fucks everything up. People get very frustrated. People push back. He's like, okay, this is getting a little too unpopular for me. And now just give me something. Give me anything. Like, oh, yeah, we'll just keep getting criminals out of your prisons to make it seem like we're deporting all these fucking heinous criminals that we find on the streets. And then that's it. Same with Greenland as well.
Every single other state across the country, Customs and Border Patrol will not be needed to support ICE on the ground.
Wait, what? This is a genuine question. How could you properly prosecute someone who is undocumented if they don't have any documentation in the USA? Like, doesn't that make reporting our stats naturally lower? I love you. Please don't take this as bad faith. Wait, what do you mean? What? No, they still get processed, chatter. You know, tourists do crimes too, right? Like tourists on a proper visa or immigrants on a visa, they still have the capacity to do crimes. Like, what do you think happens? Like, that still gets counted. Non-citizens are not invisible in the system. Non-citizens still get counted. I just showed you. Here is all of the criminal alien statistics from the, wait, what is this? This is fiscal year all the criminal alien statistics from fiscal years 2017 all the way till fiscal year 2025. These are all the crimes that they've, like, by number, these are all the crimes that they've committed. And if you look at the last year, on sexual offenses, 127, driving under the influence, 1,734, burglary, robbery, larceny, theft, and fraud, 414, assault, battery, domestic violence, 700. So the total, homicide and manslaughter, 23. These are all the crimes that non-citizens have committed. Okay, total criminal convictions by type. No, that's just CBP. You need to look at the ICE website too. No, this is all of it. This is all of it. It's not just like, they're not just finding them at the border, chat. This is all the crimes committed under the Department of Homeland Security's. The Department of Homeland Security looks at all the crimes that are committed that non-citizens have committed, and they tabulate it right here. Now you have to look at this. You have to look at this and then adjust it to per capita rates. If you want to understand, like, if you want to slot out, like, if your goal is to obviously reduce the number of crime that's happening inside of the United States of America, which is understandable. That's the goal of every responsible government. That's at least the theoretical goal of the Trump administration, right? Then tackling it from, like, the propensity to crime due to, like, your immigration status is idiotic. But if you were to do that, which is what the Trump administration is claiming that they are doing, you realize that actually natural-born U.S. citizens are infinitely more likely to do a crime than non-citizens are, okay? It's like trying to put out a fucking burning candle on the table when there's a house fire. That's what it feels like. That you're not actually trying to solve the problem at all. You're just saying, no, it's this burning candle that is responsible for the entire house on fire right now. Anyway, and this has been readily available. It's not they count them separately. I promise. Look at the site. The stats are terrible for ICE. Less than 5% violent crime. There are a few great articles on this. I put together my data. I put together the data to show my MAGA mom. No, that's just CBP. You need to look at the ICE website too. No, ICE is doing interior removal as well. So the rates that they're showing on the ICE website, I suspect is not just capturing the yearly numbers. It's capturing who they are deporting, which means, like, if someone did a crime in the year 2007 and ICE actually went to the prison system and grabbed them from the prison system in 2025, they logged it as a 2025 criminal deportation. But you're trying to figure out when they did the crime, then you have to look at the CBP numbers. Does that make sense? Did I say website? Oh, fuck you guys. Like, the ICE website, the ICE number, all of the current non-citizens that are inside of the U.S. Boundaries that have done a crime, no matter when they've done the crime. We're looking at the likelihood to offend. Well, okay, thank you, chatter, for that meme. And if you want to know why that's the case, by the way, it's pretty understandable. It's not because undocumented immigrants are just, like, brilliant criminals and they are able to evade law enforcement better and they have, like, a magical secret to do crimes and then hide themselves after they do the crimes. The real reason is because undocumented migrants, understandably, are less likely to commit crimes because they know that if they do commit crimes, they'll get fucking deported. No matter how big or small the crime is, they don't want to get deported. It's that simple. That is precisely the reason why they have a lower rate of crime per capita than natural-born U.S. citizens are. Natural-born U.S. citizens have.
In Minnesota, ICE and local law enforcement can peacefully work together, as they are effectively doing in so many other states and jurisdictions. Additionally, President Trump is calling on the United States Congress to immediately pass legislation ending sanctuary cities once and for all.
I wish you'd bring this up more when you're interviewing politicians. Brother or sister or the emperor, this is what I bring up every time I interview a politician. Like, literally every time. It is probably the most common statistic that I bring up. I said it directly to Ro Khanna in 2024 at the DNC, where I was like, why the fuck aren't you guys talking about this? It's one of the funniest like cell phones, one of the funniest, like, cases of national suicide when you actually take an anti-immigrant stance. It's ironic because the overbearing overwhelming amount of propaganda is that like immigrants are fucking killing people, immigrants are doing crimes, but it's actually the exact opposite. When immigrants, both undocumented and documented, go to a city, the crime rate goes down. Economic prosperity goes up. Immigrants also end up making sure that America doesn't fall into the same birth rate trap that other developed nations have fallen into. But that's what's so offensive to these white supremacists. So white supremacists in that instance will say, fuck it, I would rather die than live side by side with Mexicans. That's the whole point. That's where this resentment comes from.
American cities should be safe sanctuaries for law-abiding citizens only, not for dangerous illegal alien criminals who broke our nation's laws and do not belong here. We hope Governor Walz will do the right thing and continue to work with President Trump to keep the American people safe following their call this morning. Americans overwhelmingly want exactly what President Trump is delivering: strong borders and strict immigration enforcement against the worst illegal aliens, of which there are still hundreds of thousands to deport from the interior of our country. The most peaceful way to carry out this vital public safety mission is for Republicans and Democrats to do it together, and for state and local law enforcement to work together.
Now we're going to make a turn to the fallout from Saturday's deadly shooting in Minneapolis, the second this month by federal agents in the city. I know we've
Family and friends remember Alex Peretti, the man killed by federal agents in Minnesota.
led to mass protests around the country.
Immigrants naturalize and vote for Dems, which is why right wing wants them out. Don't know why Dems also take an anti-immigrant posture. First of all, that's literally not true. And this last election cycle has proven that to be not true. Okay? It's just wrong. That is across the board wrong. When you say that, you're just taking on the great replacement argument that these guys fucking present. It's so stupid. The only thing that increases the likelihood that you will vote Democrat over Republican, in spite of the Democratic Party's ineptitude, incompetence, is whether or not you're in the fucking crosshairs of like an endless amount of racialized animosity. Republicans deliver racialized animosity. The groups of people that have gotten citizenship look at that, are on the receiving end of that racialized animosity, and they say, okay, I'm going to vote for the other party because the other party's at least not saying they want to kill me. That's it. This is precisely the reason why an otherwise conservative subgroup of voters, known as Muslim Americans, post 9/11 started voting as a reliable voter demographic for the Democratic Party. That is until the Democratic Party did the genocide in Gaza. Okay, and then they actually swung wildly away from the Democratic Party, and even some went to vote for the Republicans. Okay, another prominent example I can give you that directly destroys this argument is also the Hispanic voting blocks. Democrats have maintained the Hispanic voting bloc for a very long time, and yet places like Texas have always been a stronghold for the Republican Party, in spite of having a large share of Hispanic voters. And that became a national problem for the Democrats this last election cycle as well. Yes, of course, you have Florida as well. Florida has never swung. The Cuban voters in Florida have never actually swung for the Democratic Party, with the exception of Barack Obama. And that was only because Barack Obama was very progressive, and it was the young Cuban voters that actually voted for Barack Obama. And that's it. So the idea that minority voters actually end up voting for the Democrats unconditionally is stupid. It's not correct. There's never been there's never been an instance where what the fuck is this? When did you send me this link? Okay, I don't care about Dr. Disrespect. There's never been an instance where like minority voters have reliably voted for the Democrats. The only group of marginalized voters that reliably vote for the Democrats is black voters. That's it. And there's a reason for that. It's called the civil rights movement. That is the reason. Okay. And the further we go away from the gains made during the civil rights movement for black people being able to vote and things like that, the end of segregation, or at least the end of de jure segregation in the South, the further we move away from those gains, the less black voters are likely to vote for the Democrats and just become non-voters in general. Although black voters in general are still more likely to vote for the Democratic Party by incredible margins, especially black women. black women vote for the Democratic Party by Assad margins. There is like no equivalence in the Western world. Like there's no equivalence in like Western liberal democracies. By not voting, you basically voted for Trump too. No, actually, by that logic, if you didn't vote for Donald Trump, you basically also erased one vote from Donald Trump, so it cancels itself out. Yeah. So you're wrong. That's not how numbers work. Yeah, because by not voting for Trump, you basically voted for Kamala Harris. See how that works? Because if by not voting for Kamala Harris, you voted for Trump, then by not voting for Donald Trump, you voted for Kamala Harris. It cancels itself out. Yeah. Also, I did vote, but I don't know why people try to make this argument, but that's besides the point.
Even in sub-zero temperatures, with the demonstrators saying everywhere, enough is enough. The Department of Homeland Security claims the man federal officers killed was brandishing a gun, but the videos clearly show that is not true, that is not the case. And we are learning more about the victim today. His name was Alex Preddy. He was a nurse, an ICU nurse at a hospital for veterans. Lana Zach is in Minneapolis with the latest. Lana, good morning. What can you tell us? This is so upsetting.
Good morning, Gail. Friends and family of Alex Preddy say he was deeply upset by President Trump's immigration crackdown in this city. And now the Department of Homeland Security is leading the investigation into his death after giving some statements that differ sharply from eyewitness accounts and the video you're about to see.
Whoa! Video from inside this bystander's car shows an up-close view as federal agents appear to spray a chemical irritant, then wrestle Alex Preddy to the ground on the streets of Minneapolis.
That is police brutality!
Other video from outside shows agents restraining Preddy, an American citizen. One appears to pull a gun from Preddy's waist. A second later, Preddy was shot and killed by another agent. Hours after the killing, the Department of Homeland Security said Preddy approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with this gun while agents conducted a targeted operation for a violent individual. Preddy was a lawful gun owner with a permit to carry a concealed handgun.
These officers used their training, followed their protocols, and were in fear of their lives and the people around them.
State and local officials say the videos paint a different picture.
This is an inflection point, America. If we cannot all agree that the smearing of an American citizen and besmirching everything they stood for and asking us not to believe what we saw, I don't know what else to tell you.
Witnesses on the scene testified that Preddy was holding his phone and did not approach the agents with a gun. He approached them with a camera. A pediatrician who was nearby when the shooting happened testified none of the ICE agents who were near the victim were performing CPR. The witness counted at least 3 bullet wounds in his back, an additional gunshot wound in the victim's upper left chest, and another possible gunshot wound on his neck. Preddy was an intensive care nurse for veterans at the Minneapolis VA hospital. A 2024 video shows him reading a final salute for a deceased veteran.
Today we remember that freedom is not free.
Preddy's father said his son participated in protests after Renee Good was killed earlier this month.
He cared about people deeply, and he was very upset with what was happening in Minneapolis and throughout the United States.
Alex was a really good person.
Robert Alver met Preddy when they were at the University of Minnesota.
I mean, you see that smile, and what do you think?
That's him. That is how he came to work. He was serious about his work, but he wasn't serious. You know, quick with a joke and very funny.
It's a true loss for you.
It's a loss for everybody.
A federal judge has issued a temporary restraining order against the Department of Homeland Security to prohibit them from destroying or altering evidence. Today, Minnesota prosecutors will be in court trying to force the federal government to give them access to the investigation. Kelly?
Lana, thank you. The death of Alex Preddy is also reigniting the debate over government funding in Washington. Now, Democrats are refusing to vote for continued funding of ICE, and that could mean another partial government shutdown. Wei Zhang has more of that part of the story.
Following the fatal shooting of Alex Preddy, President Trump posted a flurry of statements accusing Democrat-run sanctuary cities of refusing to cooperate with ICE. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche blamed the chaotic shooting on a lack of assistance from local authorities.
ICE is doing all of this work, doing their jobs, and local law.
You guys know my policy on this. I don't think you're allowed to say Assistant Attorney General Todd Blanche. I think the appropriate thing for mainstream media to do is to update their lexicon, update their style guides, and to say former defense attorney for Donald Trump, current Assistant Attorney General Todd Blanche. Because both the Assistant Attorney General and the current Attorney General are former defense attorneys for the president. Okay? That's just the truth. And I think every media outlet, obviously CBS is never going to do that because they're dick riding Trump into oblivion, but every media outlet should always mention that because, once again, this is pertinent. It's important. It gives you an insight into what these guys' opinions might look like. Okay? These are Donald Trump's personal attorneys. There is no separation between the Department of Justice and the federal government or the White House, okay? None whatsoever. And I think that corruption should be highlighted. Maybe call me naive for this take, but I think that should be highlighted. I think it's inappropriate not to highlight that. Okay?
Enforcement are not being allowed to do a single thing to help.
Now, Trump is calling on Congress to immediately pass legislation to, quote, end sanctuary cities, what he calls the root cause of all these problems. But Senate Democrats insist the issue is the Department of Homeland Security's aggressive immigration enforcement tactics and say there must be a freeze in ICE funding.
We cannot fund a Department of Homeland Security that is murdering American citizens.
The Senate's 53 Republicans need the help of 7 Democrats or independents like Maine Senator Angus King, who's...
Yeah, I mean, they are going to get it from Fetterman. Fetterwap is definitely, Fetty Wap man is definitely on board, right? Like, we already know that. But I don't think, oh God, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to fucking say anything. Let's see what David Dayen's analysis is. News from inside the Senate Dems meeting tonight. Schumer has the votes to block the DHS funding bill. They're going to ask for real investigations in the murders, including an end to impeding the state/local investigations and an end to mass and arrest quotas. Senate Dems will try to advance the other 5 spending bills, which are relatively bipartisan. Without DHS, all of this would require Senate Republicans to agree and the House to come back and pass before Friday, both unlikely. I don't know how you're a Democrat and get reelected if you funded government funding to ICE after this. Chatter. The reason why Democrats are thinking that they can get away with this is because there's no other options and that they are marginally better than the Republicans. This is them demonstrating that they're marginally better than the Republicans for the record. I just need you to understand that. And even then, this might not pass. Even then, they might cave. Okay? And the reason for that is because they also go on Twitter, I guess, or their consultants are on Twitter, and they demonstrate their perspective on a daily fucking basis. It's shit like this. The thing that makes Piker fans very similar to Trump fans is that they're impressed and even defensive of their idol's self-evident stupidity and lazy ignorance, so they just rely on popularity, subscribers, rally size to compensate for lack of intellectual or moral value. Explain why I'm wrong in this take. Online life is now people on the far right and the far left trying to outbid each other on who the biggest conspiratorial crank is out there. What is the conspiracy? What is the conspiracy? Can someone please explain to me what the conspiracy is? I can't even quote retweet this guy because he blocked me. Can a single person address the point I'm making without crying about anti-Semitism, conspiracies, or a bunch of irrelevant shit? Just one person, please. It's so strange. It's so fucking strange. This is not an argument. Okay? I don't understand it. Bro type slower than my mom. Yeah, that's why it's so funny. Crazy how many people dogpile you. I don't understand it. These guys all keep saying this is anti-Semitism. They all keep saying this is conspiracy shit. Nothing I mentioned there is actually wrong. I'm addressing Nick Fuentes going, ICE has nothing to do with Israel. And then I turn around and say, ICE uses Israeli spyware and is actively trying to deport green card holders and students for speaking out against Israel. But of course, this fucking shill is running cover for the ultra-Zionist pedophile admin once more because he hopes that they'll make him the next Mark Levin. If you are a liberal If you are a self-described liberal, okay? This guy's in the UK. I don't know what his background is. I don't know what his politics are, right? But if you are an American liberal and you're anti-Trump, if you're in the UK and you're anti-Trump, explain to me what is wrong about this argument. This has nothing to do with my audience size. The only reason why you're bringing that up is because you're annoyed that I have an audience and am able to say this with a fucking platform, and you haven't been able to deplatform me. That's the only reason why you bring that shit up. Yeah, where is he wrong? We've seen them scanning faces, bragging about the database they're creating, and they're trying to deport critics of Israel, Reza Öztürk and Mohammed Khalil. It's well known that Gaza is a testing ground for this tech. In good faith, can you explain what he said here is incorrect? It's literally a part of Project Esther, okay? This is a part of Project Esther. Jewish chatter here, you are 100% correct. I'm genuinely embarrassed by so-called liberal Jews who are attacking you this way. Yeah, because they're fucking Israel first, dude. It's just like they get so offended. They get so goddamn offended about Israel. If you are not Israel first in your mentality, you don't look at this and go, this is fucking bullshit. You look at this and go, even if you think you're Israel first, or even if you think that you care about Israel, okay, you would look at that situation and go, you know what? I do see the similarities here. Maybe I'll reconsider my allegiance to this fucking ethno-state that's doing an apartheid. That's the problem. But because they can't fucking address any of the points that are being presented, they just have to like wildly swing at random shit that is utterly irrelevant. One fucking person, please. One fucking person. Project Esther is an off-branch, an offshoot of Project 2025, created by the same group, okay? The Heritage Foundation that wrote Project 2025 also wrote a separate project called Project Esther. Understand? Project Esther was utilizing the weaponized anti-Semitism smears in a way to tackle the First Amendment in this country. They wrote it just like they wrote Project 2025, but with the exception of PBS, now known as the Piker Broadcasting Service, by the way, please subscribe. Very little media outlets actually covered Project Esther because they all fucking dick ride Israel into oblivion. Where is the conspiracy? They're saying it out loud. It's like saying, oh, you're telling me that ICE is being used to dominate blue cities that Donald Trump doesn't like in an effort to potentially move the conversation away from the Epstein files that Donald Trump is currently doing his very best to protect? Ha! That's a conspiracy. That's not an argument. Explain why it's a fucking conspiracy. You can't just say it's a conspiracy theory. Explain why it's a conspiracy, but you won't. These guys only fucking can demand censorship. That's it. Have you looked into how this and the Greenland issue tie into the North American technate goals of the mentors of government? Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, also, even down to the Israeli spyware, inside ISIS tool to monitor phones in entire neighborhoods. Like all of the surveillance technology that these guys are purchasing comes from Israel, almost all of them. Yeah, they're calling me a lot of names, but you know what they're not saying? That I'm lying, okay? Because they can't say it, because it's fucking true. They just keep saying, oh, we're anti-populist, we're anti-populist, we're anti-populist, and that's it. That's all they got. We're anti-populist. You're a populist for this.
Spoke Sunday on Face the Nation to keep the government open.
I can't vote for a bill that includes ICE funding under these circumstances.
That could cause a partial government shutdown, potentially leaving federal workers who are considered essential, like air traffic controllers and TSA officers, forced to work without pay. In a statement, a White House official tells CBS News Democrats are holding emergency response funding hostage to score political points. We hope cooler heads prevail.
Republicans on Capitol Hill vowed to avoid another government shutdown, and they say they are moving forward as...
A lot of people are misquoting you, and I agree they're not engaging with your arguments. It's just a stupid dogpile. They're not even misquoting me. They're just quoting me and hoping that their fucking audience that already has us not noticed that what I'm saying isn't incorrect.
Planned, even if Democrats block new funding for ICE, the $170 billion budget to continue immigration enforcement, including $75 billion for ICE, was already approved as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, the president's signature legislative accomplishment so far this term. Kelly.
Ouija, thank you.
Let's get to the live desk now for the very latest from Maria Lisignoli. A court hearing today on ICE operations. Maria?
My friends and I are taking bets on how long it'll take until Chuck Schumer folds on the government shutdown. Oh, my God. The people are calling it a conspiracy because ICE is using Israeli spyware. Do not believe that ICE is using Israeli software because they don't know. And probably real evidence shown to them won't change their mind. They will think it's fake news. Yeah, 404 Media and like PBS and all these other fucking mainstream outlets that they normally look at, real investigative reporters are actually doing fake news. It's all fake news. Okay, how are you any different? How are you fucking any different than the Republicans at that point? 404 isn't mainstream law? No, but 404 is a real investigative outlet. They do real investigative reporting. They're a credible news outlet for the real ball knowers, okay? It's an offshoot of Gawker's tech reporting. They're incredible. They're a fantastic outlet, as a matter of fact. They're basically like the modern version of ProPublica when as it relates to tech issues. Yeah, I mean, here, okay, Human Rights Watch. Liberals love this shit, right? U.S. Immigration Agency contract with spyware company poses risk to rights. Systems need to hold industry, government, and international standards. I don't understand it. ICE obtains access to Israeli-made spyware that can hack phones and encrypted apps. Like, it's not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy theory at all. True, 404 is known in cybersec circles. Yeah, they're great. What's next? You're going to link Amnesty International, CIA boy? Yeah, exactly. Here's more. ICE just spent millions on surveillance tech banned by Facebook. ICE spent over $5 million on social media and dark web monitoring software that critics say enable warrantless surveillance. Its security staff had discovered cobwebs founded by former members of Israel's elite cyber intel agencies, was using hundreds of accounts to snoop on Facebook and WhatsApp users, many of them activists, opposition politicians, and government officials in Hong Kong and Mexico. Oh, it wasn't Gawker, it was Motherboard. Sorry. But wait, it wasn't... Oh, Motherboard was Vice. True. It was its ex-Motherboard team. Put some respect on the name, etc. First of all, I love Gawker too, so I wasn't... I would go so far as to say I like Gawker more than I like Vice, but Motherboard was goated, for sure. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful to any of those teams. PBS is trash, but PBC is where I get tomorrow's news today. The Piker Broadcasting Service is not trash. The Piker Broadcasting Service is where you get tomorrow's news today. The Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. Anyway, the point is there's there's so much information out there. If you are even remotely curious as to just investigate it. Curious as to what I'm saying, instead of just immediately discrediting it or trying to discredit it by saying, this is just a conspiracy theory. This is just a conspiracy theory. You're an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory person. Fuck you. Instead of saying that, just Google it. Just fucking Google it. Just Google it. Okay? And the comparison between Israel and ICE doesn't end there, okay? Here's Prem Talker also making that same comparison that I've been making for the past couple of days.
Why is the US and ICE behaving so much like Israel and its military? As Trump's masked agents terrorize neighborhoods all across the US, it's hard not to see the parallels. The violence, the in-your-face lies, the slandering of their victims, and the self-victimization of themselves. Take the murder of Renee Nicole Good. The administration is demanding that you believe something that's completely different from what you can see with your own two eyes. They accuse her of terrorism and say that she...
Damn, I did a PBS, subscribe to PBS, the Piker Broadcasting Service, for you, the viewers, by you, the viewers, and nobody subscribed. What the fuck is going on? Hey, yo, I'm washed. Okay, Unk is chopped. Unk is chopped. Unk is washed. Too many gifted subs? Yeah, I don't pay to get my news, homie. I mean, if you don't have the money, you don't have to. But also, you have paid for 5 months. So, recession indicator. No, the segues are busted. It's over. It's over. It's over. Unk is washed. Unk is chopped. Unk is no longer goated. Chopped Unk. Chunk. Calm like a Tom. Thank you for the 20 gifted.
Weaponized her vehicle. And that she was stalking agents who then feared for their lives. ICE is behaving how Israel does every time they kill a Palestinian child, doctor, journalist, or parent. We describe it simply. Every accusation is a confession. Everything ICE has done before and after killing Renee Good make the parallels almost too hard to ignore. For one, both the Israeli army and ICE are unimaginably violent, often unprovoked. Both have a knack for ramming people's cars or pulling people out of them, brutally arresting and assaulting common people as if they're dangerous threats, and blocking doctors or ambulances from reaching their victims. Both also act as completely unaccountable occupying forces. In Palestine, Israeli soldiers oversee a vicious apartheid system. In the US, masked agents demand people's papers, beat up kids at Target, and march around towns as if they're scoping out another country for the US to attack. And then there's the rhetoric. In addition to smearing victims as terrorists, they both build pretexts to justify even more violence, even against kids. Both, after acting in a way that causes any normal person to be outraged, then howl that they're the ones with the right to defend themselves.
That guy acted in self-defense.
Right of self-defense.
Both, you just lie, but completely reframe reality.
ICE agents and CBP officers that are out on our streets doing God's work live in these communities.
And both are pouring millions into influencing you and keeping the violence coming. And finally, there's the links between US and Israeli agencies, security partnerships and cooperation agreements, synergy and admiration between their border walls, sharing the same weapons and surveillance suppliers. There's even an ICE office in Tel Aviv. It's all so similar.
What? I can't believe it. These guys, more anti-Semitism. You see that?
If the people
More anti-Semitism. I didn't understand how direct the comparison was. Thank you for this segment.
People in power saw how tolerant we were to send our tax dollars to help Israel occupy and carry out a genocide in Palestine.
The tide is definitely shifting. My vote blue, no matter who. Mom is even saying ICE acts like the IDF. Yes. The reason why I use this analog is because Israel is a deeply unpopular country in the United States of America. And it's deeply unpopular for the things that the current unpopular administration is doing. Any liberal that gets mad about this analogy, is pro-Israel first and foremost. That's it. And they just don't want to fucking admit that their favorite country that they care more about than they do about anything else. And I will say that if you are looking at this comparison and you're saying, how dare you make this comparison, you're anti-Semitic, whatever, you're fucking Israel first, brother. Sorry. Call me an anti-Semite if you want, okay? It's not fucked up to say Ben Shapiro, who is Jewish himself, is Israel first, okay? This is not a dual loyalty trope. If you are saying that you care about Israel, if you're openly saying that you care about Israel more than you care about America, because God forbid Israel's reputation gets a fucking another hit in this circumstance, then you're Israel first. That's it. Just sit there and be like, the dual loyalty trope's much. Okay, then don't do it, bitch. Don't fucking do the dual loyalty trope. Don't be the trope. You can't fucking constantly rely on real existing anti-Semitic tendencies in your situation when you are literally doing the thing. It doesn't work that way. Just like it didn't work when you were like, this is blood libel. To say that Israel kills children is blood libel. Bitch, we can see the fucking children being killed. You're not actually using that as a response. You can't actually stop people from recognizing that, right?
Some of those same tactics were bound to come home. Violence we support or even tolerate elsewhere only tarnishes our own soul, and it makes it all the more likely it'll come back to be used against all of us. That's right, including
you. I'm going to post it again. I'm going to say United States of Israel one more time. Anyway, I don't know if you've seen, but Hamza and Martin talked about the Alex Priddy situation. Pretty wild. Wait, why is that wild? Hamza and Martin are fucking woke as hell. Brother, Hamza is literally like, oh, no, like, cool, I like it. Yeah, no, they've been talking about politics. That's not new for them. Yeah, okay, so people do know this. Okay, yeah. Hamza was literally deported by ICE. I didn't want to say it because I don't know if that's like a known thing or not. I forget. It is a known thing, yeah. No, not the league streamer. Hamza and Martin from Slushy Noobs, yeah. Who is your bias? I love this because we've had a back and forth. We've had a tumultuous past. The Yowie couple, yes. Obviously, it's inappropriate because this is an inappropriate age gap relationship. So I don't actually have like a real bias at all. I think they're both goated. But we have had what you could say is a heated rivalry. Yeah. Me and Hamza. I had no idea. I had no idea who the fuck he was when he was talking mad shit. I did know about Martin's like very funny TikTok videos about like, you know, portraying himself as like a XQC fan who gets the aux cord or whatever, like all that stuff. But I had no idea who Hamza was until I saw videos of him talking mad shit. He was like, fuck this guy, I hate Hasan. And he was like, it was strange. I was like, the fuck? And it turns out this motherfucker was a HasanAbi head. He was talking mad shit, even though he was a HasanAbi head for years, and a barb too. Isn't that crazy? Why do people keep saying, why don't you talk about Tool? Tool. Have you seen this? What is this? 2 sticks of RAM cost $900 because of this shit, by the way.
Domain expansion, Epstein Island Temple.
Someone said this one's worth it. Is this real? Yeah, this actually happened.
Imaginary technique, baby oil detonation. Domain expansion, divine baby oil vodka.
What's actually crazy is this is not even AI. This is what happens in Jujutsu Kaisen. Like end of season 2 Jujutsu Kaisen. Like that's literally what happens. And it's so strange because it kind of comes out of nowhere. You're like, wait, you know, what happened to Gojo? Like what's Sukuna doing? And then all of a sudden it's like, nope, no more Sukuna, no more Gojo, none of that shit. This is, yeah, sorry, spoiler alert, but this is Jujutsu Kaisen season 2 finisher. Okay, low key though, season 2 to season 3, without giving you any spoilers, is a very big change of pace. It gets dark as fuck. Post Shibuya Incident, like, it's straight up like a different anime. Because I finally caught up to JJK because I was rewatching it. And it's dope. But it is so dark, dude. Season 3 has been so fucking dark. Oh my God. Spoiler before culling? What? Okay, calm down. No, I got spoiled on the HasanAbi Public Broadcasting Network. No, you didn't. You did not. All I'm saying is I haven't read the manga, but season 2 to season 3 is like a very different change of pace. Okay. How's that a fucking spoiler? I don't understand. Sometimes y'all just say shit. Y'all be saying shit and I don't fucking understand it. Okay, calm down. Calm down.
Minnesota's Attorney General will be in federal court this morning, hoping to end Operation Metro Surge. Attorney General Keith Ellison says the influx of immigration agents to Minnesota has caused tremendous damage. WCCO has been following this for weeks now. We told you the state of Minnesota, along with the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, are suing Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and other federal officials. Well, they get their day in court today.
I'm going to be in federal court with my team arguing for a restraining order against Operation
HasanAbi head, friend of the show, Keith Ellison.
Metro Surge. I filed this case almost 2 weeks ago, and this will be our first hearing. The lawsuit we filed is one that is caused by the unprecedented nature of this surge. It is a novel abuse of the Constitution that we're looking at right now.
In response to the lawsuit being filed, DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin said in part, quote, "This is a baseless lawsuit and we look forward to proving that in court." Now, WCCO will be in court today on what happens there.
All right, Maria at the live desk for us this morning. Thank you.
This morning, a growing number of Republicans are joining Democrats, calling for a full investigation into the killing of Alex Preddy by Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis.
What we're seeing on TV, it's causing deep concerns over federal tactics and accountability.
Senator Bill Cassidy calling the situation disturbing, writing the credibility of ICE and DHS.
Oh God, this is so 2016. Creators 3-day comparison on TikTok. They don't even do news and they're completely off United States algo. I've been fully taking out the American algorithm and I just make gaming content. America is what they fear China is. Locations 3 days prior, 41% United States. United States is gone, wiped out. Wow. Just gone. TikTok is down in the US. That's why views in the US are declining. I don't believe that it was a real outage, chatters. I think that's fucking bullshit. I think that they are tweaking stuff and they're making it seem like there's an outage, for the record. I think they're straight up cooking the algo. Why not watch the song? Brother, please, or sister, please stop sending me this link. I'm not going to watch the song right now, okay? Not right now, all right? I love you. Please stop spamming it. Please. No disrespect. I don't want you to become a permanent hater now. I don't know how else I can say it. If you keep spamming it over and over again and I don't click on it, that means I'm just not going to look at it, okay? Because I've seen it. Okay, have you watched /read Chainsaw Man? I have watched Chainsaw Man. I'm going to rewatch it too. Yeah, after several celebrities said TikTok was limiting their videos about ICE, the platform responded, blaming the issue on an ongoing power outage at a U.S. data center. Since yesterday, we've been working to restore our services following a power outage at a U.S. data center impacting TikTok and other apps we operate. We're working with our data center partner to stabilize their service. We're sorry for this disruption and hope to resolve this soon. Cap. Bullshit. Okay. Anyway, so all these guys are like, they're all reacting to the Alex Preddy killing. They came after the Renee Good killing. And they're like, oh, maybe this is a bridge too far, all this stuff. And and the Senate Dems have come out and said, we're actually going to stop the DHS funding for once. They figured out that they should have a backbone in this circumstance. Now, here's David Dan's report from inside the Senate Democratic Caucus, where the strategy to block DHS funding, David Dan of the American Prospect, executive editor of the American Prospect, David Dan, reports from inside the Senate Democratic Caucus. Detailed language on the conditions to be federal state investigation, which includes Minnesota officials of ICE murders and tactics, a ban on ICE use of face masks, a requirement for body cameras. There was $20 million in the funding for body cameras in the current appropriations bill, but they are not mandatory. A ban on roving ICE patrols, a ban on the invented category of administrative warrants that bypass judges in violation of the Fourth Amendment, and an end to arrest quotas. The move came about after key Democratic moderates declared in the wake of Preddy's killing that they would not support ICE funding. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto said the Trump administration and Kirsti Noem are putting undertrained combative federal agents on the streets with no accountability. Now, this is, once again, as is expected from the Democrats, too little too late. But Adam Johnson says, a ban on roving ICE patrols and arrest quotas is substantive if inadequate. Body cams, mass bans is pointless. The investigation is fine in theory, but gameable. Ultimately, without slashing obscene funding levels that permit terror campaigns at scale, nothing will fundamentally change. Banning invented legal categories like administrative warrants reminds me of when progressives wanted to pass a law forcing the White House to abide by the Leahy laws. If you're passing laws to enforce existing laws, this feels like when a man marries his mistress, he creates a job vacancy situation. They need to start prosecuting these fools right now. They need to start demanding prosecutions of these people right now. DHS got $170 billion in a mystery money last year to build a deportation machine, and it's unclear how you can address the cruelty of this regime without taking away some sizable percentage of it. Historically, when people want to rein in bad things, defunding is a key way of doing so. That's what makes this whole withholding funding until we get reforms framing so silly. As some progressives in Congress have already noted, DHS has billions and billions of mystery money. They don't need more funding to operate. Let them burn through their MAGA funds. Fun thing about the Democrats is that they pathologically begin negotiating from a position of extreme compromise, the most lukewarm reform conceivable, and go from there. Republicans begin with maximalist demands, so slashes to the DHS budget are simply never a part of the equation, when they should be the key part of the equation, perhaps the only part of the equation. Despite the fact that a plurality of Americans support abolishing ICE, 46%, with 41% against, 46% for abolition, including 76% of Democrats, this is off the table as a starting position due to the baseless conventional wisdom, abolish and defund language cost Dems the 2024 election. So the starting point for Senate Dems is keep all funding in power, but more oversight, transparency, and rules. What we will end up with, I predict, will be something more cosmetic than the initial proposal. The part that I do agree with is the mask ban. Mask ban is a critical component of defanging these fuckers. Anonymity is a morale booster for them. Without masks, they can more easily identify agents. They get transferred to another city. It doesn't matter. They're not brazen and lawless because they have masks on. They're brazen and lawless because the federal government has given them permission to kill and terrorize at will. Every one of the killers will be unmasked eventually, and they know that. It's a minor tweak, says Adam Johnson. I do think that it's still good that they're moving in this direction as opposed to not doing anything. But once again, the demand should be more aggressive. Even if you are not going to follow through on your maximalist demands, which you should fight for tooth and nail, as I've said time and time again, mask bans only help the decentralized resistance network against ICE, okay? It helps make it easier for people to take matters into their own hands and create these networks, create these resistance networks, and actually, unmask the ICE agents that are doing crimes. Also, without enforcement, mask bans are meaningless because some of the states have actually already forced mask bans through. But unless you actually enforce said mask bans by way of local law enforcement with your local attorney generals and your prosecutors, you're not actually going to enforce mask bans at all. It's just in paper. Just like the Constitution in paper is supposed to say a violation of the Fourth Amendment is unconstitutional. It should be penalized. But without there being any sort of penalties for violating the Constitution, it doesn't matter. Are meaningless if not enforced. It's that simple. I will say though,